And don't forget about us on ESPN2. Chris Canty's Giants, plus the number 3 pick, minus taking the quarterback, equals what? Waiting till you hear how Chris will fill in that blank as the Giants had their private workout with Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado yesterday. They'll also take a long look at Tyler Shuck, who played at Louisville, and also Jalen Milroe played at the University of Alabama. With all that being said, Chris Canty, you've been on record saying, and I'm going to do my best, Chris Canty, pleading, please, Giants, don't do this to your fan base. Don't do this to the city of New York. With all that being said, if they don't take a quarterback, like you don't want them to at number 3, even though Shedeur Sanders will be on the board, what could that mean for the New York Giants?
That means that they're going to take the best available player. And that's exactly what they should do because according to our very own Jordan Renan, who covers the New York Giants and is as plugged in as anybody over there, the Giants need everything. There aren't too many positions that you could point to that the New York Giants don't have a team need. He said the only one that he thought might be off the board is safety because they drafted one last year. They signed one in free agency this year, a good one in Javon Holland. Yeah. But other than that, they need everything. We got the reports that the Giants are undecided about the 5th-year option for Kayvon Thibodeau, which means the franchise is on the fence about him moving forward and what that looks like now that he's contract extension eligible. So if you're the Giants, you're in a position where you can take the best available player, but you're also in a position where it doesn't make sense to draft a quarterback with the first-round pick, especially a top 5 pick, knowing what the expectations will be while also understanding that your head coach and general manager are on the hot seat.
You mentioned Jordan Renan. We had him on the show yesterday, ESPN NFL Nation Giants reporter, and he said plenty of people in that organization, part of Big Blue Nation, they don't believe that Shedeur Sanders is a top 5 talent.
You don't talk to many people who say, this is a top 5 type talent, a guy that I want to put basically my career on the line for and draft in that kind of premium spot. And really, you know what? People have questions about Cam Ward. I was talking to someone yesterday, like, I would never take that guy. Like, that's the kind of –
Okay.
Like, that's what – like, when you draft a player that high, is he a gold jacket player? Does he have a chance to be a Hall of Famer? Can he get into Canton? I don't know if I see that with Shedeur Sanders. But in the same breath, I'm willing to acknowledge that Shedeur Sanders is a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with if he develops properly.
Okay.
He's got those traits. He's got that type of football IQ. He has that type of accuracy. Shedeur Sanders will make players around him better. I've seen him do that across multiple programs, across multiple levels of college football. So I believe in Shedeur Sanders. I do think he's a true franchise quarterback if put in the right hands and with the right infrastructure around him. But so much of the evaluation and the projection of Shedeur is conditional on the circumstances that he's stepping into. And right now, my rationale for the Giants not taking him is not because I don't think Shedeur Sanders can't play or can't be great.
Okay.
I just don't think that the Giants have the infrastructure in place to properly support and develop a quarterback, knowing that the head coach and the GM are making decisions in the interest of job preservation.
All that is fair. All that is true. But if you believe he can be a generational kind of quarterback and you have a chance to take him at number 3, I know you got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and Tommy Pasta.
What does generational mean, though? That's the thing. Like, we throw that term around. What does it mean?
Because what you just said, that it's going to make people better. He's going to elevate the game of those people on the football team and playing for the New York Giants with that storied organization.
Okay.
You can be a generational player where your name is up there with the Eli Mannings and the Frank Giffords and the Phil Simpsons and the Lawrence Taylor.
Can I ask you a question? Is Jalen Hurts a generational player?
At the rate he's going to be.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. He's a second-round pick. So right. I guess that's
the
part.
Rate he's going.
That's the part where it's like you can find generational players if that's how you're defining it.
Okay.
Anywhere in the draft. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the top 5. You can find those. You can find those guys. But the reason why Jalen Hurts is trending toward being a player that's generational is because of the organization that he's with.
Absolutely.
Because of the franchise that he was with. And remember, there wasn't pressure on Jalen Hurts to be the starter. That was a franchise that had just extended Carson Wentz. And not too far removed from that guy in Carson Wentz being in the MVP conversation. So there wasn't pressure on Jalen Hurts to come in and save the day. It's a much different scenario for the New York Giants. there'd be a ton of pressure on Shedeur Sanders to compete with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and win the starting job in camp and potentially be a starter going into the regular season. Like, that's what fans would want. Right. That's what people would be clamoring for. If he wasn't the week 1 starter, it wouldn't be too long before he would be installed as the starter because the Giants, quite frankly, just aren't that good. They're not going to win a lot of football games in 2025. And if you're an owner, your head coach and general manager have to sell you on winning, or they have to sell you on hope for the future. I don't think the Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen will be able to sell on winning next season. Their sales pitch to ownership is hope, and that comes in the form of a franchise quarterback that you take in the top 5 pick. And that's why I don't think it would be set up for Shedeur Sanders to have success, because they would be pushing him out there on the field, and he may not be ready for it, or the team may not be ready for it.
Right.
Or a combination of those two. So that's what concerns me about the Giants making that type of commitment to Shedeur Sanders at number 3.
Chris Canty, Freddie Coleman together on a Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance and ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and also ESPN2. And I've said for the longest time, the Giants have told us what they're going to do at number 3 by what they did at the quarterback position in the offseason.
Yeah.
You don't bring in a Russell Wilson and give him a 1-year contract and $10.5 million in guaranteed money and tell him and he's not going to be the starting quarterback. Or bring in Jameis Winston on a 2-year deal, 1 year with a 1-year option, or sign Tommy DeVito to a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
They have told us what they're doing at number 3, because I firmly believe the guy they want is not in this draft at quarterback. The march for Arch is strong.
No. It's not. No. Hold on.
March for Arch.
Listen, it might be March for Arch on Freddie and Harry. It's awful for Arch on Unsportsmanlike, sir. It's awful for Arch. We got T-shirts made. It's awful for Arch on this show.
Whatever it is.
It's not March for Arch. It's awful for Arch. So when you're on this show, you got to get it right.
That's right. So we're going to go MFA, March for Arch. We'll do AFA, awful for Arch.
Awful
no problem.
For Arch. But here's why I say you can't rule it out. Number one, desperation makes for interesting bedfellows. So the Giants are desperate right now.
Yes, they are.
And when you look at Brian Daboll, offensive-minded coach, he hasn't been able to get the most out of that unit because of the instability at the quarterback position. They thought they found their guy in Daniel Jones. Turns out he wasn't the guy. Turns out he wasn't the catalyst for that team that went to and won a playoff game 3 years ago. It wasn't him. It was Saquon Barkley. So the New York Giants over the last 2 seasons have the worst QBR in the NFC. The worst. 16 teams in the conference, they're dead last. QBR 29th over the last 2 seasons.
Yikes.
The New York Giants have the fewest touchdowns, fewest passing touchdowns during that span. That's why you can't rule out them taking a quarterback.
Okay.
There's no way an offensive-minded coach wants to continue to go on with mediocre quarterback play, knowing how inept that unit is and knowing that that's his claim to fame as a coach. The ownership brought him in because they thought he was going to be a good head coach, but I'm sure that ownership didn't suspect that offense would be the impediment to the team being able to win football games. But yet, here we are going into what is year 4 for Brian Daboll.
So who should they take a quarterback then? They're not going to take Sanders at 3. Is it Jalen Miller in the second round?
I don't think they should take any quarterback
at all
at 3.
Aren't we just going to be back here next year then?
Yeah, with awful for Arch.
Yeah, but he might not even come out next year. They haven't even said that that's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's all well and good. But next year's quarterback class is much better than this year's quarterback class.
Okay.
Every scout will tell you. So I mean, whether it's Nussmeier, whether it's Nico, all these other quarterbacks, like they believe will be better next year than this current class.
So
you'll have more optionality next year, even if Arch Manning doesn't come out. I guess the whole point of it is, though, Pat, you're talking about a situation where the New York Giants have an opportunity to take a player that they believe can be a gold jacket Hall of Fame type of player in Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter at 3. The opportunity cost is too great at number 3 to opt for a quarterback when you have one or two of those guys on the board.
So if you're going to be drafting a quarterback next year, aren't you concerned this year that you have a quarterback that could win you way too many games?
Are you concerned about Russell Wilson with this team winning you way too many games?
I mean, I don't see. I'm not saying they're going to win 10 games, but I think that he could accidentally win you more games than you want to and take you out of a draft position that you want to be in.
There's only one team that has a lower over/under with season win totals than the New York Giants, and that's the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah,
no shot.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
no shot.
Chris, I'm with you on that one. I'm sure Russell Wilson believes in what he wants to believe, but come on now, that offense.
But this is a coach that wants to save his job. Like, I know a GM that wants to save his job.
See, I think they're going to have an entirely new staff next year in terms of GM and head coach. Not trying I don't try to.
But what Pat is saying is the desperation will put them in a situation where they'll win more games than everybody.
What do they care about tanking for? Like, why does this current staff care about tanking? Well, they want to win as many games as possible.
No, they don't have Pat. They don't have to tank. Look at the roster.
They're going to be bad.
That's the beauty. They don't have to tank. They just have to keep doing what they've been doing. They don't have to tank. This is not a team that's going to win a lot of games.
Right.
I struggle to see how they're going to finish any better than fourth in than the worst team in their division.
Especially that schedule.
Yeah, they don't have to tank. So, I mean, listen, as optimistic as you're painting the picture for the New York Giants, and I can appreciate that because you're an Eagles fan, as optimistic as you want to be about their circumstances, even though they're desperate, I don't think that they have a path to being competitive enough for them to be able to save their jobs. Whether they take a quarterback at 3 or not, doesn't matter.
When this season is over for the Giants, no matter who they drafted number 3, we don't have to say that they tanked. We're going to say they stank with the New York Giants.
Yeah.
And they're going to be in the same position next year where they're more than likely going to take a quarterback. I just wonder who's going to make that decision, a general manager and when it comes to head coach, because they're going to stink again this year like we think they're going to. Those two guys will not be in a position to be a part of that draft process in 2026. They'll have an entirely new head coach and an entirely new general manager because, to your point, Chris, they are not, as Reese Davis says on College Game Day, they're going to be ungood again in 2025.
Jordan Renan said the Giants are in a great spot because they need everything.
They do need everything. So it's easy.
They need everything.
So it's easy to go to the shopping center and say, I need potatoes, I need bananas, I need this. When you need everything, it's easy to pick when you know you need everything. And they're going to need everything once again. In New York.
High roller, potatoes, bananas, like $80, Freddie. Jeez.
That's expensive. Yeah, he's right.
Hey, quarterbacks aren't cheap in this day and age, my friend. I don't care what the salary cap says.
Inflation is a real thing, man.
No doubt about
these tariffs, man. I'm telling you.
Exactly. The Giants have tariffed themselves into another situation once again in 2025 like they were in 2024. Chris Canty, Freddie Coleman together. This Unsportsmanlike presented by Progressive Insurance. We go back to another quarterback that used to play in New York, meaning Aaron Rodgers. Wait until you hear what we had to say about how he reacted, how the Jets told him
Chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng và hôm nay của mình sẽ có